Imagine being able to manage your mental health properly, blending nourishment, self-care, and personal development daily. With a coach by your side to support your journey, cheering you on even when you hit those spots that feel muddy. That is my role as your coach, and I take it seriously. To give you the courage and the strength to see that sometimes evolving can feel emotionally heavy. But under a tarnished surface lies strength and beauty. If you are open to push through your adversity, you will redefine who you are with abundant tenacity. If you would like to learn more, please don't wait. Start your journey toward the holistic approach today.
Welcome back to Holistically Speaking. This is your bi-monthly discussion sharing how to manage your mental health using these 3 pillars: nourishment, self-care, and personal development. I'm Vanessa Reagans, and I'm live here on LinkedIn 2 times a month, 2 Saturdays at 10:15 a.m. So we are going to work through these 3 pillars today. I have an awesome little setup for you. We're going to continue learning about stinging nettle. We're going to learn about the constituents or any concerns or contraindications that we need to be aware of, along with how I personally use nettles in my daily life. And then we're going to move into the self-care portion, where I will demonstrate a Qigong sequence that we will do together. And then we're going to work through how to create structure around the boundaries that we worked on from the last episode. All right, so first we're going to dive back into exploring stinging nettle. We've learned a lot this month about this incredible herb and how supportive it is in giving you all of those nutrients. If you drink 1 cup of nettle leaf tea every single day, you're getting over 500 milligrams of bone building calcium. And with that, beyond that, there's other nutrients that you are getting with that tea. You can put them in broths and other things as well. We will explore that later. So first, let's talk about constituents. These are the things that you need to be aware of any herb that we are discussing. And I'm very excited to share that the constituents are really none with stinging nettle. Nettles are super safe. The only thing that can be a little bit of an annoyance is their diuretic effects. Now, we've talked a little bit about the sting of stinging nettle, and if you've ever experienced it, it is very unpleasant. So if you do, there are a couple antidotes I wanted to just share with you at first. In school, we made an all-purpose salve one of the first weeks we were in school together. So I have, with my experience getting stung by my own nettle plant, I put this salve on those areas, and it was very, very quick to relieve that sting. But if you don't have that, you can also use nettle juice. So if you blend and juice the nettles, it will, 1, take out that sting, and then 2, you can use that juice to put it on those areas that may have gotten that sting in that area. All right, so that is a little bit of the constituents. You can use it. They're very, very safe. So I encourage you to start blending it in your weekly routine as soon as you can. So from here, I want to also share how I'm learning how to use nettles, how I'm currently using nettles, and then some things that I'm actually learning that how I want to implement it and continue to implement it in my practice, in my herbal practice. So I wanted to share these with you here. So right now I am using nettles as a tea. And right now I'm using traditional medicinals. I'm sure you've seen that brand in the grocery stores, and you can have a cup of tea every single day. It's very, very convenient and easy to do. Something else I'm really interested in is I am not going to be making any medicine with alcohol, using alcohol in tincture form. So I am going to actually try to make a nettle tincture with apple cider vinegar instead of the alcohol and see how that goes. And then you can always use the fresh leaves. If you find fresh leaves, you can put them in a broth. The hot water takes out the sting. Make sure that you blanch and you boil those leaves before you put them in your broth. Make sure that that sting is completely out. I shared earlier in the month that I love having fresh leaves in the broth because they feel a little bit fuzzy on your tongue. And then I also have been reading up on nettle, of course, more and more, and you can also make a nettle honey. So imagine if you are making your nettle tea and then you have on top of that, you have a scoop if you want to sweeten it up a little bit. You can put your medicinal nettle honey in the tea and kind of bump up those nutritive effects. So those are just a few ways that you can start using, and I will start using. I'll share with you as I create that tincture. I'm very excited. You can, use Bragg's apple cider vinegar, have that macerate in the jar for 6+ weeks. So I think I'm going to try and do it a little bit more than the 6 weeks. And then when I press it out, then I'll have a little tincture of that nettle leaf. So that'll be really awesome to have. All right, so that is going to wrap it up, the discussion on stinging nettle. Let me know what your favorite takeaway was or how you plan on using nettle in your life. I'd love to hear how you're going to implement that. From here, we're going to move into our self-care portion. So I'm going to go over the things that you're going to need. We're going to be doing a Qigong sequence. And we're just going to do one of the poses. We're just going to kind of work through that. We're going to do a little bit of a warm-up because we are going to be kind of in a seated, standing, but kind of in a chair pose posture. So I want to make sure that we're prepared for that. Our joints and ligaments are happy, and we don't bring them into that movement on a surprise note. All right. So we're just going to take a few moments so that I can reset the room, reset the cameras, and you have an opportunity to go grab a yoga mat. That is all you need today. All you need is a yoga mat. If you want an extra blanket for padding, you can have that on the side. All right, I will be back in a welcome back to the self-care portion of Holistically Speaking. I'm going to demonstrate how to do the Qigong sequence, separating heaven and earth. So first we're going to kind of warm up our joints, warm up our bodies a little bit so that this feels comfortable. So what we're going to do is we're going to first bring our feet hip width apart, and we're going to kind of bounce and shake out the wrists a little bit. So this is kind of like a meridian warm up and release. So first let's shake out the wrists. You can go as fast or as slow, just making it comfortable. It shouldn't hurt. And then we want to start bouncing the knees. And kind of sway from side to side. You can shake them out. You can start bouncing on the heels if that's comfortable, or you can alternate the knees. You can start to move the torso side to side, keeping your feet planted. Make sure you're breathing. And when you twist, try to hold yourself there for a second and then come back around. And then hold yourself in that twist and then come back around. All right. Cool. You can shake that out. And then I want to do a little quad stretch. So if you want to hang onto a wall or a chair, something in front of you. And then here you want to bring the knees together and gently press the hip forward, opening up that flexor. Good, and then release. And then we'll do the other side. And then when you're stable, bring the knees together and press that hip forward, this side. And then release. Perfect, you can shake the legs out a little bit. And then we're gonna do a few rounds of our neck rolls, very, very gentle. So before we start, when you bring your head back, just make sure that you're not cranking the neck. You don't wanna crunch your cervical spine by the axis and atlas up at the very top of your spine. You don't wanna crunch that. So you don't have to go back all the way. Go back to a comfortable flex for your neck, being mindful of that. So just a few rounds here. So you can bring your chin down to your chest, and then you can roll your ear to one shoulder, gently guide the neck back and come back around. Might get a few adjustments. And then we're going to pause at with our chin at our chest and then do the opposite direction. then we're going to pause with our chin at our chest. Finish that last round. Then starting with the base of your neck, go ahead and roll the head up nice and easy. Perfect. I'm going to demo how to do the separating heaven and earth sequence, and then I will have you join me. I just want to show you the basics, and then we'll do a few rounds together. So first, we're going to place our hands over the belly button. We can close our eyes. Feet are hip width apart, soft knees, slightly tuck the pelvis under, and softening the belly. And then we're going to, on the inhale, stepping out, and then we're going to bring our hands kind of one on top of the other, kind of at midpoint. My lower hand is at my belly button, my top hand is just under the rib cage. And I do a couple sways from side to side. And then we're just kind of holding this energy here, right in the center dantian. And we're going to start using our breath to inhale, expand that ball of energy, and then exhale, compress it down. And inhale, and exhale. Good. Inhale and exhale. Good. And then from here, we're going to inhale, exhale, and then press, separating heaven and earth, pressing down, really pressing down, nice active arms, pressing up, sinking into the hips here. And then we're going to take the top arm and try to reach as far as you can without tipping over, bringing that ball of energy back up. And now the bottom hand is on top. Deep inhale to compress. And exhale, expand. Good. Inhale, compress. And on the exhale, separate. Feeling any differences here? A couple breaths. Then that top hand's going to reach, scooping up that energy and coming back to the center. And coming back to the center. So I'm going to step to the side. We can shake out the legs if you are joining me, and then we will start the next round together. All right, so come down to open up the feet. You can have the feet angled out a little bit, getting low in the knees and the hips. And we're going to let's do our left hand on top, right hand on the bottom. And we're going to inhale, pressing down, and exhale, expand. Inhale, pressing down, and exhale, expand. Good. Then we're going to inhale, and on the exhale, expand, separating heaven and earth. And we'll pause here for a couple breaths. Inhale through the nose. Long exhale out. Inhale through the nose. Good long exhale out. From this top hand is going to come forward, reaching as far as you can without tipping over, and then scooping that energy back. Good. Right hand's on top now. Inhale, compress. Exhale, expand. Inhale, compress. On this exhale, separate heaven and earth. Really reaching down with that bottom hand, reaching up towards the sky with the top. Inhale through the nose. Long exhale out. Inhale through the nose. Good, long exhale out. Take that top hand, reach forward, and scoop up that energy. Good. Swaying side to side helps with the tension in the thighs. Here we go. Inhale, compress. Exhale, expand. Inhale, compress. Exhale, expand. Inhale, compress. And exhale, expand, separating heaven and earth. Inhale through the nose. Long exhale out. Inhale through the nose. Long exhale out. Take that top hand, bringing it forward. Scoop, scoop, scoop that energy and bring it back to the center. Good. Inhale, compress. Exhale, expand. We'll do this one more time. Inhale, compress. Exhale, expand. Here we go. Inhale, compress. Exhale, separate heaven and earth. Reaching with both arms. Inhale through the nose. Long exhale out. Inhale through the nose. Long exhale out. Take that top arm, bringing it forward, scoop, 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 and coming back to our center dantian. Inhale, compress. Exhale, expand. Inhale, compress. And exhale, expand. Now we're going to step over to our right. You can march that out a little bit. Bringing your hands back, stacking them on top of each other over the belly button, over the center dantian. And we'll just take a few breaths, long, deep breaths here. Go ahead and flutter your eyes open. You can bring your arms back to your sides. I hope you enjoyed that little Qigong demo of separating heaven and earth. It's a really powerful one, really strengthening your quads, your hips and your core, and really overall full body in a sense of really getting that movement and that flow and that fluidity moving throughout the body. So this is the personal development portion of Holistically Speaking. And in our last episode, we talked about boundaries. We took a moment to kind of create and be honest with ourselves, create some boundaries that we wanted to work on. Then we took those boundaries and created those obstacles. First we did those obstacles and challenges. We figured out, we wrote some of those down, and then we started creating boundaries for those obstacles or challenges that we find that are in our life, they repeat. So after we created those boundaries, we then took some action. We asked ourselves those hard questions. What do we need to do to start implementing this into our life? And what are those actions? And writing them down and kind of getting a bird's eye view of what you need to do in order to progress in that direction. And then how to start taking accountability and what can you do today? Can you reach out to somebody and have them be an accountability partner? Can you go pick out a different snack at the grocery store? Can you start a new habit? Create a list before you go to the grocery store, things like that. So once you have those in place, I was thinking about what's the next step? You're putting these things in action, but sometimes when we put new boundaries in action, we tend to forget about creating some structure around these boundaries. So for me, I feel when I'm trying to create some structure around it, like what does that look like? I would take the boundary and almost create a little bit more structure with that. What does that look like? What are the scenarios that are going to happen for this boundary to take place, where I'm going to need to lean into this boundary? So what are those things? And really start to brainstorm how you are going to interact in that scenario. What does that look like? So that's kind of what I mean by creating that structure around that boundary so that it is effective, so that you can stick to it. You feel confident in sticking with it. When an opportunity or situation comes your way, you already know how you're going to handle that situation. So trying to create a little bit more structure around that. So taking a moment, writing those scenarios down. What are those scenarios that are linked to those boundaries, challenges, obstacles that you want to start improving in your life? So take a moment to do that. Give you about a minute to brainstorm on that. I found this piece very, very helpful when I've been creating some boundaries in my life and not really knowing how to navigate that. This is what I was doing. This is what I did. Awesome. So now you have some scenarios that might be coming your way soon, and hopefully you can start to see, maybe you can take your list of boundaries and action steps that you want to start taking moving forward, and seeing where they land in the scenario list that you just made. So taking your boundaries and the actions that you want to take towards that new boundary, and then I want you to link them up to those scenarios that might happen in the near future, and seeing how they correlate, seeing how they connect. I find that that's really, really helpful to do that. So I'll just give you another minute to just kind of brainstorm and see how those link up, how they connect. Perfect. Last but not least, it's really putting this into practice. You have all the tools and all the resources and all the notes that you took this month on how to create those boundaries, and now giving you some tools on how to stick to them, creating some structure around them. So now it's really time to practice, not necessarily putting yourself in positions to have to put up your boundaries, but as they come, start practicing that. You can practice also, thinking of this in the car. I'll do this, where you think of a scenario and you kind of work it out. How is that person, what might that person say? What have they said in the past? And then you can work it out. You can literally practice what you're going to say. And I love practicing what I'm going to say, because when that situation comes up, what I say and what comes out of my mouth is much more graceful. And it's also accepted. It's not an attack. And that's what we don't want. We don't want, when we have to put up our boundaries, if it is with people or people in certain situations, we want to make sure that we're not attacking them so they feel, defensive. You want to make sure that you're saying this with grace so it's respected and they understand where you're coming from, you understand where they're coming from, and there's a respect factor. There's a line there that you don't cross with that. So I feel like there's a lot of practice that comes with this now. So you have all these tools, you've gone through those steps, and now you have some boundaries to start playing with and start putting into action, start practicing them now. I want to also extend an invite to, if you ever have any questions as you work through these types of exercises on these episodes, if you ever want to talk or get my opinion or just bounce something off me, an idea or anything, please go to my website. You can use the little chat bubble and message me anytime. It comes straight to my phone. So I'll always be watching for those messages. So you can always write me out on LinkedIn or Twitter or YouTube. I'm very active on all three of those channels, and then I can support you with that. So I just want to extend that out. Also, if you would like to be more involved or in the know of what I'm up to, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to my newsletter. It's a monthly newsletter. It's very, very simple. I share the events that I'm going to be hosting for the month. I share the herb of the month. I give you a recipe that you can use right away, and all sorts of other little details. I'll be adding to this newsletter as we go, but I really wanted to start off simple. So you can subscribe on my website, theholisticapproach.health. And again, I'm very active on LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube, so you can find me there. And if you ever want to email me, you can always email me, vanessa.reagans@gmail.com. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. I really appreciate it. I love going live and sharing what I am learning in herb school and bringing you this awesome knowledge in holistically speaking. So I will let you get back to your weekend. I hope you have a fantastic one, and I'll see you at the next episode. Take care, everyone.